My name is Dorothy Christian.
Thank you.
I'm from the Suknaquin and Secwepemc nations of the interior of BC. My tribal names are Quashke and Hukhla. Those are names that come from the lands of my people, that have been bestowed upon me by my people. First of all, I would like to acknowledge Debbie Miller and Willie Pierre as the peoples of these areas for allowing us to be here on your land. I would also like to acknowledge the spirits of these lands that we're all here talking about, because those spirits don't have a voice at this table. They're relying on us, the two-leggeds, to be able to bring a voice to this table. I'm a relative of these people from the interior. I'm related to every Indigenous person in this province. I've traced my genealogy into all the communities throughout this province. There are 198 communities, Native communities in this province. I'm related to many of them. There are many voices that are not here. There aren't very many brown faces out there in the audience, because we have a very complex political situation that erases our voices, that erases people like these hereditary chiefs who spoke earlier. There are many of us who still practice our Aboriginal rights. Please understand that the lack of brown faces in this audience and that the silence of Indigenous voices does not mean that we are acquiescing to this process. We do not want you to sell our land and water rights from under us. There are many interests represented here: recreationalists, conservationists, and environmentalists. I'm here to ask you as a people, those of you sitting out here, as you protect your right to play and your right to conserve these lands, this environment, please remember to protect my right to collect food on these lands. I rely on this land for my food and for my survival. I go home every summer and I pick berries with the women in my community. I harvest salmon with the people in my community. The men in my family go hunting for deer. And the disruption of these waterways is an incursion on our basic fundamental right to life, to our basic right to those foods. I was talking to Paul Sam earlier from Skookumchuck. We were visiting before the meeting started. And he was telling me how he and his wife still go out and sit with the water. He goes and he sits with the water and he gets songs from those waters, from those rivers and those streams. He talks to the water and all the beings that surround those waters. We as an Indigenous people have an intimate relationship with these lands, with the water particularly. When I moved back to these territories a few years ago, I worked with a medicine woman in my nation, and she put me through some rituals. These are things that we don't usually talk about to outsiders. But we live in extraordinary times, so we have to break all those things in order to get people to understand just how critical the earth is asking us to do these things. That medicine woman got me to get up every morning for 4 mornings in a row at sunrise, and I went and sat with the water I talk to that water. I address the water and all the beings that were there with the names that I have been given. There are many, many, many Indigenous people in British Columbia who still do these things. They don't come to meetings like this. They can't afford the gas. It's as simple as that. We're usually very private about those things. I made a curious observation as I've been sitting here this evening. Water is a feminine energy. And it's most curious to me that all the people at the front of the room, with the exception of one person, are men. From my worldview as an Indigenous woman, we need to have both men and women involved in the decision-making process. What I've been taught is that in order to have balance, we need both energies, not just one. Both men and women have got to be there and be involved. So just remember, I'm asking you, when we stand up for our Aboriginal rights and our water rights, that we're standing up for your grandchildren too. That we're not just standing up for ourselves, because we're thinking way in advance. So we're standing for your children too. So don't dismiss us, don't wipe out our blockades, don't do any of those things, because we're standing up for you too.